Pickle, it is my distinct pleasure to kick off the inaugural edition of Hot Take Tuesday. That's right. It's Hot Take Tuesday. We definitely need a theme for this.
Yeah,
we're going to come up with this.
I have a cool graphic made for, like, posting it, but I haven't gotten to the...
I need to listen to, I need to find, some metal music.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will...
we need to green screen you with a guitar.
It's Hot Take Tuesday. It's Hot Take Tuesday. We are, some of the takes will be very hot. Some of the takes will be relatively mild. But what we're going to do is we're going to post a column every Tuesday on TexasFootball.com from a different member of the Dave Campbell staff. And then we're going to talk about it here on the show.
Which means you'll get Ish time for everyone asking.
You'll get Ish, you'll get Shahan, you'll get Steph, you'll get Powers, you'll get Will, you'll get Pickle, you'll get everybody, okay? But I called for the ball first. I called ISO. I called ISO, and I said, I'll take the first Hot Take Tuesday. And my hot take you can find on TexasFootball.com, which is, why, in a season that was so chaotic everywhere around it, did the 2020 Texas high school football season play out so chalky? Okay? And if you don't believe me, you can go and read the piece on TexasFootball.com. But frankly, it was a relatively predictable season. Now, this is not to sit here and kiss our own butt as far as our predictions in the magazine are concerned, because God knows we got a lot wrong in the magazine too.
Right. But
from a couple of certain measures, I think it's fair to say that the 2020 Texas high school football season, 2020, 2021, whatever you call it, was pretty by the book.
Yeah.
Pretty chalky. Take a look at the numbers, okay? We had a grand total of 2 first-time champs. Now, that's about in line with what we've had the past couple of years. 2017, we had 4. That was a crazy year. 2016, we had 3. But then 2019, 2018, we each had 2. We had 2 again, okay? But if you take a look at the number of state champions that started the year ranked outside their top 5, not top 10, not the entire rankings, the top 5, there was only one preseason team outside the top 5 that won a state championship, and that was Jim Ned. Now, Jim Ned went from completely unranked to state champions. So that is relatively unpredictable in 3A Division I.
Yes.
And if you want to zoom in and say 3A Division I was relatively unchalky, or chalkless,
that was probably the biggest one.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. But writ large, overall, you took a look up and down. All the other 11 UIL state champions started the year in the top 5. That's crazy. And again, that's not for me to kiss our own butt. That's me saying that is relatively chalky, because if you take a look at what the how we end up doing predictions, a lot of it comes down to how good you've been in the past, what kind of returning starters you have,
right?
What's your district draw, things like that. We break down a lot of data and put it together, but in the end, a lot of a lot of it comes down to whether or not what we think of you going forward has a lot to do with what you've done in the past, and as a result. You take a look at the first-time champs. Jim Ned, a first-time champ.
Yeah.
Again, they're kind of the outlier in this situation. The other one's Balmaray.
Yeah.
But Balmaray
has a legend coaching them.
And Balmaray started the year number 1. Balmaray went wire to wire at number 1 in 1A Division II. So I would not classify that. I would put that more in the chalky category than I would there. So I wanted to look into this and why the 2020 Texas high school football season was so chalky. Despite all of this.
The entire world, not just Texas high school football at this point.
Despite the chaos going around it, why did that result in a relatively predictable Texas high school football season from a state championship perspective? And I have 3 theories on that. 3 theories. One is defensive experience. Okay? If you look at the 12 teams that were state champions in the UIL, all but one of them had the majority of their starters returning on defense. Okay, that one was Carthage, by the way. The one was Carthage. Carthage had 2 returning starters coming back. Basically, everyone else had a lot of their defense coming back. And when you had a season where you didn't have an off season, where you weren't able to have that kind of install on your and you weren't working, the advantage was you didn't have to work in so many new pieces on the defensive side. The offense will figure it out. The offense comes together. But the defense stood tall for these teams. Every single one of them. I mean, you look at it, it's 5 starters for Westlake, 6 for Katy, 7 for Ryan, 6 for Alito, 7 for Argyle, 5 for Gymned, 5 for Canadian, 7 for Shiner, 8 for Windthorst, and then 4 and 6 for the 2 6-man teams. Defensive experience, I think, led to a large complement of the returning starters on the defensive side. Those teams fared better, is what we found out, because I think you didn't have to install your defense, and you had that kind of leadership and that known commodity on the defense.
That's one of those things, too. You can basically, they can sit there at home and study the schemes and study the plays and all that stuff and be able to go out there and produce it. On the offensive side, there's so much chemistry that you have to build.
It's a lot of reps.
That's where it comes into a physical aspect.
And so having that returning experience on defense, I think, really played a role. Secondly, and this one's probably obvious to people, but I think pedigree played a big role. That, we say a lot around here that I think the first state championship for a program is the hardest one to win. Because after that, you go, just go do that. We know we can do it. We believe we can do it. That this is not some sort of goal that's way out there that we're never going to be able to achieve. We've done it before. And as a result, you take a look at the 12. Success tends to breed success. You look at the 12 FBS teams, 12 FBS, there's 12 UIL state champions. The 12 UIL state champions this year now have a combined 48 state championships. Now, obviously, there's a couple of those, right? Alito's doing a lot of heavy lifting. Katie's doing a lot of heavy lifting on that one. I think they have 19 combined, right? But you're talking about pedigree there. You're talking about a lot of basically all but 2 are now multiple-time state champions. Pedigree ended up winning out and being a decisive factor, I think.
I think having the experience of understanding how to play in a season that long is where the pedigree comes into it, especially when you look at the 5 and 6A guys. I mean, they were pushed back 4 weeks and played all the way into January. So a coach that understands how to get his players to go out there and practice for that many weeks is a big mental task to get past.
The other one, and my third theory as to why the 2020 Texas high school football season was so chalky, is coaching stability. If you look at the 12 state champions, and especially, we thought about this, we had conversations about this in the offseason, about all these guys who are getting hired. And we're talking with, I remember one who had Jeff Miller, when he got hired from Rockdale at Cy-Fair. And we were talking with him, and he's talking about, I've Zoomed with my kids.
Yeah, but I've never met them.
I've never been in the same room with them. And that was a common recurrence for a lot of teams, okay? And it's not just first-year coaches, but, I think you need time to cultivate a culture and to build and to install what you want in a program. And if you look at the 12 state champions, they all had that. Daniel Boddicker at Shiner is in his second year. He is the most junior, quote-unquote, of the state champions there. The other ones, Matt Fanning and Jim Nett, again, they're a bit of an outlier.
Yeah, it just overall.
Every other team, every player on that squad, that's the only head coach they've ever had. Everyone. Trey Cisco at Sterling City is in his 4th year. And then you've got guys, Tim Buchanan. Tim Buchanan's a bit of an odd situation because he was longtime head coach, became AD, but he's been around the program, right? Gary Joseph's in his 17th season, right? I should mention, 17th season at Katy, okay? Todd Rogers in his 18th season at Argyle, right? Chris Kettings in his 11th season at Canadian, okay? Todd Dodge is in his 7th season at Westlake. That coaching stability, I think, paid dividends for these teams. And as a result, we talk about what makes a team a favorite, how we go into doing our rankings in the preseason and how we start figuring out, hey, which teams do we think are going to be pretty good? These are a lot of things that we end up looking at. And I think when you take a look back, with the power of hindsight, I think we're able to look back and say, you know what? Those things played an even bigger role when the world's all going to kablooey, those things that tend to stand up stood even taller.
Oh, yeah.
In the 2020 season.
Stepp commented, too, that Boddicker and Fanning were both in program hires. So
right.
there's the stability.
Those were internal hires. So those are guys that even though Daniel Boddicker is only in his second year as the head coach at Shiner, he's been around that program for a long time, for a lot longer, right? Matt Fanning, same thing at Jim Nett. He's only in his third year as the head coach, but he's been in that program for a long time.
Yeah.
That coaching stability, I think the pedigree, and I think the defensive experience, those things are always things we look at whenever we're making predictions. And I think that, in what felt like an unpredictable 2020 season, what ended up happening is that it went back to these fundamentals.
Yep.
And that's, to me, why the 2020 Texas high school football season, despite all the chaos surrounding it, played out relatively chalky on the field.
Ed made a really good point, too, real fast, that most of the state runner-ups were pretty much the traditional powers as well.
Yeah.
So it shows, even just to get there, that's basically what you needed to have.
Right. I mean, look, 6A, you had South Lake Carroll, right? And you had Cedar Hill.
Yep.
Right. 5A, Crosby was a bit of a surprise, I would say, although I believe they started the year in the top 10 in 5A Division 2. But then Cedar Park, a pedigreed program, right? Gilmer, you're talking about Lindale, I think was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
But, Hallettsville started the year in the top 10. Franklin, I believe, started the year in the top 10. 2A Division 1. Shiner beat Post. That was a team that we had in the top 3, I think. And then 2A Division 2 Mart, of course, the defending 2A Division 2 state champions.
For 3 straight years.
And then 1A, Balmorhea beat Richland Springs, and Sterling City beat May. Both teams that we had ranked to start the year. So, yeah, I think that even if you zoom out a little bit and you look at the state finalists,
holds true.
You would still say, you know what? Yeah, these teams, the fundamentals held. The fundamentals, for the most part, held, I think, even more so in 2020 with so much chaos going on than it even normally does. So you can see my piece up on TexasFootball.com where we discuss in a chaotic season, why did Texas high school football get more predictable? That's Hot Take Tuesday.
And then cue out the air guitar.
Hot Take Tuesday.